Welcome back to the Psalm 40 Project. We continue our conversation with Reverend Kristy Manion.
Because I was so kind of complicatedly ordained, figuring that all out, LaGrave and Madison, my church that I was coming from, were able to work together to get all of the parts the way they needed to be in terms of church polity, and they were terrific. I had really wonderful people that were helping me figure out at each step that I had a misstep. God provided people to help me figure out what I needed to do next. So that's a note. If you have a question about church polity, I will be happy to take it to someone else who knows more than I do, because it's not my best gift. But just really felt like God was in that whole process, even though it was long and arduous for me in some ways. It felt really confirmed in terms of the call to LaGrave. That was smooth and straightforward, and like, this is where he would have me to be right now. And I feel grateful about that.
Yeah, that's it. It's fun to sit and listen to these stories, because you kind of see how things unfold. Again, we're doing kind of like a hindsight.
Yeah.
So I see your work here, and then as you tell the story, it kind of like, oh yeah, yep, that spot definitely formed you, because again, your work here, you're caring for people in a unique way, looking at small groups and faith formation and that sort of avenue of the church. And then you are looking for those who may not have a place. And I know that's a topic you and I discuss quite frequently as you try to help me find my place. But it's interesting to me that is where you've been placed here at this church.
Yes.
With all the steps that you've pointed out to us so far.
Yeah, I feel like the ministry role fit and the team fit here for me have been such a gift. What I get to do and whom I get to do it with are just real gifts.
Yeah, all the ministers, I think, have been able to say that.
Yeah.
And I think it's very unique. I don't know if many churches with larger staffs would be able to say that these fit so well.
Yeah.
It's very much a puzzle that's come together.
It is.
And all the pieces have kind of fallen together.
Yeah,
so,
it feels that way to me.
This is one of the questions that you may not have thought about, but I like to ask. What are you excited for, hopeful for, as your call continues here at LaGrave? What are those areas that your heart is jumping up and down?
Yeah, it's always, for me, it's always probably personality and the way I'm put together spiritually. It's always my dream, my hope, my prayer, my wish for the people of LaGrave, that they would know the incomparable love of Christ, and that they would be filled with that, and that that our community would be a place where they experience the love of Christ in ways that really touch them deeply, so that they hunger for more of it, and so that they are so full of it that it cannot help but spread when a person from LaGrave is with a person who is maybe newer to the faith or who doesn't know Christ yet at all, that there would be something about that encounter that they would say, I don't know what that was, but I saw something. We would say, I saw Jesus in that person. I want them to know how much they're loved, and then have that love spill out.
No, it definitely seems like a very difficult task at our church, and namely just because of how many people we have.
Yeah.
You know, it seems very daunting of a task to try and figure out, well, how do we make 1,800 people feel loved in a way that they actually understand that, because we all feel loved differently. But then also, how do we help 1,800 people show that love in the way that they know how to best? Because again,
they're
all
people.
gifted differently. I do not envy that.
That's the dream.
Yes.
And the prayer. And then what I see my role as is to try to provide environments where the Spirit of God does that in people's lives. So that is through public worship as one avenue. That is the hour on the weekend that we get from a big stage platform to do pastoral care from the pulpit in a way that, God can speak to individual hearers in that congregation of 800 in ways that, maybe I can't say, maybe I don't have permission from somebody to say to them. It seems to me like maybe anger is something in your life that God is working on in you. But in preaching and in leading liturgy, there are ways that we can open up those kinds of questions and thoughts that God can press that into somebody's life, that question, or that, hey, are you practicing a discipline of celebration when something's really good as our first impulse to turn toward God in gratitude for that, which it's practice. We don't naturally do that. But again, in a public worship space, we can raise that question, and then God's Spirit can press that into somebody's life in a way that we may not know them well enough or have permission to enter into that personal space in a transparent way, one-on-one. That God may do that in public. That's not to say that we don't also need a few people that we're really transparent with.
And that's the other side of your work, is sort of trying, and maybe, here in the church is not necessarily where those people are going to find it, but you also try to provide smaller groups where maybe that could develop, where you can develop some sort of relationship with a small group of people that could speak into your life more directly. Yes.
Because I'm concerned that our theology is right, but I'm also concerned that our lived experience of faith is happening, that we're not just heads on sticks, but that we're whole beings.
It tends to be with a little bit more of a Reformed background. We tend to be more heads on sticks. And a little less of the lived out, lived in faith. So.
And it's good. Like, having our theology right is so important. And then also having a place where we work that out, and where the rough edges of who I am get rubbed off because other people are holding up a mirror. In my family are a couple of friends that are safe and trustworthy people that can say to me, "You don't seem like yourself today. What's going on? Where is God working in this place of pain in your life? Is he working? How can I pray for you?" We all need that.
Yes, we do.
Me too.
It's very important in our lives. Well, Kristy, thank you so much for being willing to sit down and be vulnerable with us about your story and your life. We really appreciate that you are here and that God is blessing you through this ministry. And I look forward to our continued conversations about how you see and hope for the future of LaGrave. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Jonah, and thanks to you, LaGrave members and others that are listening. Just a final encouragement to you. My story is my story, but you all have stories also about how God has shown up in your lives, and so just encourage you to look for those things. They're not every day, not in my life, but there are ways that God is leading and guiding your life too, and I hope that you ask him for the eyes to see when he's at work.
That's a pretty good segue, because we are going to start transitioning from the minister's call stories to the people of LaGrave, and hopefully some people are going to be willing to tell their story as well. So
awesome. Look forward to hearing that.
Thank you, Kristy.
Thanks, Jonah.